Well, I think we'll go ahead and get started. We may have a few more trickle in. Just to make sure everybody's in the right place, this is Soldier Dogs for Independence, and I'd like to introduce our speaker today. This is Michael Barentine, an Iraq War veteran. Michael is president of Soldier Dogs for Independence, a nonprofit 501c3 organization designed to help local veterans with physical and/or mental injuries. This organization offers hand-picked dogs from local shelters that are available for trial, adoption, or veterans may enroll with their own dog upon approval. Each veteran and their dog will join a 20-week training program. Soldier Dogs provide not only companionship, but also service and are capable of many day-to-day tasks with the potential to make life easier for veterans. Please welcome Michael Barentine and Pork Chop.
All right, thank you. Like she said, I'm the president of Soldier Dogs for Independence, and this is my battle buddy, Pork Chop, kind of the ambassador of Soldier Dogs. I'm also here with my vice president, Kevin. He's also an Iraq War veteran, and he also has a battle buddy. She's just down sick right now, so she couldn't be here with us. Get this slide. We have your six is our motto, basically. For people that don't know what that is, it's a military term that means that we have your back. And it's more than just us as veterans having each other's back. That's part of our organization, but it's our dogs that have our back. Some of the most sensitive areas for us is having people to our back or having the unknowns come to our back. So we train these dogs to actually watch our six, and hence we have your six. They're going to watch our back for us and basically give us that comfort level and the security that we need to do everyday life. Okay, this is a big title that not a lot of people know what it means. 22 veterans every day and 1 active duty. Could anyone tell me what that statistic is? Suicide. Really? So since you guys have been at this conference today, we've already lost 13 veterans to suicide. That's a real number. I've personally lost 4 of my battle buddies to suicide. And it's real. And it doesn't just hit the veterans' family, it hits the veterans in general. And that's kind of what our mission, our goal is to stop that. Really, it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And we'll get into a little more when we tell our testimonies of kind of what the problems they're going through and why maybe that suicide rate is so high. Just 3 years ago, that suicide rate was 16, which is still 16 too many. But that shows you how rapidly this increases. And this is a number only to the states that have actually submitted the numbers. The numbers are probably higher, but some states have elected not to give that information to the VA. So that 22, that's 23 heroes a day that commit suicide. And that's why our stance, that's why our program thrives as hard as we do, is because we want to take that 1 veteran at a time down to 0. 107,800 veterans have died since 9/11. 16 times the U.S. troops killed in Iraq and Afghanistan. So we've had more defeat here on the home front, on our American soil, than we have in a foreign war. The biggest thing is not all wounds are visible. A lot of people look at me and they're like, hey, you don't look sick. Well, yeah, you're right. I have my legs, I have my arms. I'm physically okay. But there's some things that you can't unsee. And that's the aftermath of war. As little as much of war that you've seen, you've stepped foot in foreign soil, you're going to have some type of aftermath. You've been taken away from your family. You've been taken away from everything. And then when you get home, if you did have a family like myself, I had a wife and one child at the time, they figured out how to self-sustain without me. So then when these veterans get home, they don't have a purpose, they feel. They feel like, well, they have everything under control. If I get in the middle of it, I'm just going to mess everything up again. So that's where the veteran starts to shut down. And hopefully we get to them quick enough and they come see us. Our solution is rescue dogs. This guy right here was in that same position. He was probably weeks from being euthanized. I got him when he was 4 years old, about 2.5 years ago. I got him back in April of 2013. And he was a throwaway dog, basically. They put him up on Craigslist for free. And usually those are the ones that try to use them for bait dogs or fight dogs, and they wouldn't work out for them. Obviously, he's meant to work, just not as a fighting dog, as a, saving my life dog. And there's a lot of stories all the same that probably, I would say 98% of our dogs come from local shelters and rescues. So when you think of us taking care of one veteran, saving one veteran's life, we're actually saving 2 lives. We're saving a rescue dog that's a day away from euthanization, and a service member who could potentially be a day away from suicide. Our mission statement's pretty simple. Soldier Dogs for Independence gives struggling veterans a chance to improve the quality of their lives by providing them with a rescued shelter dog. Together they bond, train, and help each other become a service dog team and an active part of the community again. Soldier Dogs provides both the veteran and the service dog a second chance at the life they both deserve. And that's kind of what I was leading up to there, talking about how we're saving 2 lives. We have a mission, he has a mission. And together we can fulfill it. And before I had him, I wouldn't be standing right here in front of this group of people talking to you. I would be at the back, next to the door, waiting for the quickest exit. Same with going to restaurants. I have to see the door. I have to be able to get an exit. That's about 90% of veterans that have seen foreign war. It's the fight or flight. In what they call post-traumatic stress disorder. It's fight or flight. If you're uncomfortable, you're going to stand up and be irrash, see red, and you're going to fight. Or you're going to get scared as your secondary emotion, and you're going to flight. And you're going to take off and go as far as you can. How we help is each veteran and the dog will join our 24-week training program. With the help of local dog behavior trainers and evaluators of the it doesn't say it on the site, they are AKC accredited trainers to give tests for a Canine Good Citizen, a Canine Good Citizen Advanced, and a Canine Good Citizen Urban. And why those are so important is because you get this as an aftermath. You get a dog that can be a foot away from the biggest stake that you could ever think of, put it right in his face, and he's going to leave it alone because that's his job. And these trainers, over 30 years of experience between them, they come in and they dedicate their Tuesday evenings to help myself and Vice President. They help both of us help train these guys, because the important thing is we actually train the veteran. We don't train the dog. So as we go through the process, say things change. We just recently had an issue happen where we had a guy going through the program. everything okay with him. Next thing you know, the next week, he's an amputee of one leg. And what we do is we open us up for a lifetime. But these guys, as we train them, they are able to adjust fire, and they're able to help train as well, just on their own at home, because we've given them the tools that they need. And then at the end of it, they take a public access test, which is required by Assistant Dogs International. And that is where we take about 3 hours out of our Saturday. We go with any of the guys that have been through the entire program, to where this is basically their last stage. We take them to the mall or to Walmart or somewhere very busy. And we allow them to basically do all the tasks and training that we have done throughout the whole time. The whole 24-week, we put it all in together, to the basic being able to walk your dog, to making your dog lay down and be able to walk 20 feet away from him out of sight, and he'll be trained on you so well that he's still going to come back to you once you call him. So that's an important test that they do. Once they pass that test, we can, with confidence, give them the approval of taking their service animal and officially calling them a certified official team through the ADA regulation, the Disability Act. One important thing that I talk about a lot when it comes to these guys and these dogs is no veteran ever pays anything for our services. We do everything based solely on donation and private funding, because we feel this is very strong. Giving veterans freedom is priceless. Who are we to tell someone, hey, you fought for our country, but I'm going to charge you to help you? That's not how we do it. I took over in September of 2013, and from that day I said we will never charge a veteran to go through this organization as long as I'm part of it. And the biggest reason why is, because there are fees. This vest that he's wearing cost us about $80. We keep them up. We do all their vaccinations. We do their heartworm treatment. We set each veteran up. Once we adopt the dog for them, we go and we pay for the adoption fee. We'll actually get crates for them. We'll get treats for them, whatever they need, toys. Usually on average we spend about $300 when we initially get the veteran's dog and their items. And then throughout the process, it usually ends up costing right around $600 to $700 to put a veteran through our program. And that's all zero fee from the veteran. And it's important that we don't bring that struggle on the veteran, because most of the veterans that we're seeing are suffering from either, as they call it back in Vietnam, the shell shock, or what we call it now, post-traumatic stress disorder. I don't care which war it was from, it's still real and it's still the same. And one of the biggest things about post-traumatic stress disorder is stress is the biggest thing that causes a relapse in it. And in America, the biggest thing that causes stress is finances. So we take that completely out of the equation, because if we didn't, they would be quick to quit it, just like we do with medication or anything else. Where we have to put effort, we're going to find any way to say, I don't need it anymore. So that's something very important and dear to us, is that we never charge a veteran anything. So if anyone here knows of a veteran, or knows of a veteran that knows of another veteran that may need help, all of our information is on the brochures and everything. We definitely want to get them the help that they deserve. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to my vice president and let him kind of give you a little bit of story about where he's come from. Bear with him, it may be a little tough today with him not having his battle with him. because they do, I mean, they are like our battle buddies on American soil. We'll take a bullet for our battle buddies overseas. We'll do the same for them here. So I'm going to turn it over to Kevin.
How you doing? So I'll just tell you a little bit about my story and how I come to meet Mike and become part of this organization. My battle buddy's name is Phoebe, and my wife and I got Phoebe from a shelter a couple years before we seen this program, and at that point I was kind of in the deeps of my issues, not really caring about the world and didn't really want the dog. However, my wife wanted this dog, and this dog came up to be very emaciated, and she was used for a puppy mill and then abandoned once they were done with the puppies. And I was like, we can't afford those bills, but she does this. She's a boxer, and if you know anything about boxers, they like to lean against you. She did that, and it was time to take her home with my wife. I was not be able to get away with that. So, at a couple years, and I continued my struggle. At this point, when I met Mike, I'd been back since 2003. I was with the initial invasion into Iraq. So I've been dealing with for about 10 years with this issue, and I'd given up. I'd give up living. I give up being part of my family. I didn't go to Walmart. I didn't go out to eat. My daughter was 10 years old at the time, and I hadn't been to any public place with her, not to the zoo or anything. I really just given up. I'd given up so far that I decided that it was time to end my life, that I wasn't living it anyways. My wife, being the smart person she is, started to sense this in me, I believe, asked me to go to my therapist. I agreed, but just in the sense that, okay, she can't say I didn't do everything once it happens. My therapist gave me the information about soldier dogs, and hope to a struggling veteran, and probably struggling anyone, but hope to a struggling veteran is a very scary thing. It doesn't seem like it would be so scary to have hope, but when you've been, this didn't work, and this was let down, and you're still waiting for this, and this medication didn't work, hope begins to be this scary thing that you don't really want to have. And that's what this organization exactly was hope, and I didn't want it. So I decided that I would go to the interview for my wife and for my kids, again, to say I did everything I could. But I was going to go home that night from the interview. I was going to tuck my kids in bed. I was going to kiss my wife and hold her until she went to sleep. And then I was going to drive out into the woods and I was going to kill myself. That was my plan. I was ready to go. I went to this interview with him, and he saw something at that time, and he looked me dead in the eye during that interview, and he said, "We're going to save your life. This is going to change how you live." And that hit me somewhere down deep that I'd blocked off for a long time. And it made me put my kids to bed, hold my wife until she went to sleep, and I locked myself in the bathroom. And I cried because of this hope that shouldn't be there. It was already gone. I'd already dealt with it. I'd already been down this road. But I decided at that point, I cried till I couldn't cry anymore, that I was going to try it one more time. Come down 6 months later after that, or no, it was halfway through the program, so about 3 months into the program, my dog gets her vest, and I take all 3 of my kids to Metzger Zoo for the first time. And not only did I take them to there, but I enjoyed it. And not only did I enjoy it, but then we went out to eat, and then we went to a science museum, and it's all because I knew that battle buddy was right beside me having my 6. And she gives me the confidence to be here today without her. This wouldn't normally happen. There was no, and I was kind of even farther along. There was no way you'd get me in that room with that door shut. There's too many people. But I know she's at home and she's not feeling well, but she's right beside me in spirit, and I can feel that with me, and I feel that confidence still in me. And that's what these dogs do. They're not a cure. No way did that help and be a cure-all for the depression that I was in. I had to continue on with therapy, but it was another tool that we can use to overcome that burden that we have. And just being in this program, and now I've been through it. It's been almost, I've been out since December. I graduated in December. And being able to be a part of this and seeing the same struggle in these guys and gals coming through, but then seeing them open up just like I felt myself do. You see these guys hunkering in the corner struggling for just to stay there. Sweat pouring off of them just because they're in a room with 15 people. To them be coming on the other side of it and joking again, laughing again, and picking somebody from a smaller class that you see and starts to give them encouragement. It's an amazing program what this does. And we think, how can a simple dog doing that? But Pork Chop here laying on his feet, something that we call like pressure therapy, gives him comfort. These dogs can just give you comfort by that slightest touch. Phoebe likes to rub and lean like she does. When I get nervous, she'll lean right on the back of my knee just to let me know, I got your 6. And I couldn't imagine, and I really hate that I was in a spot where I wasn't living, because I am now a better husband, a better father, and a better man because of my battle buddy. You want to tell your story?
June 18th, 2008. I was on convoy security mission. I was in the scouts. It's the front 3 trucks that make sure the rest of the convoy is protected as we drive through the city of Mosul, Iraq. Explosion. First truck was hit. 200-pound IED. So hard that it forces me back, and I was in the 3rd truck. Lost communication to my first truck. All I could see was smoke and dust. Until I finally see a hand come out with a thumbs up, knowing that my battle buddies are okay. We get word from a helicopter above us. It says, hey, there's a man 1 click out to your north. It's after curfew. Go check it out. All of us knowing that's our trigger man. That's our man that detonated that IED on us. But what was I told? I was told stand down. I did not have an interpreter. Due to not having an interpreter, we could not apprehend this individual. That's something I live with every night. When I go to sleep, it haunts my dreams. That's why I don't go to sleep. That's why most veterans are on as many pills as we can count. That's why most of us are night owls and maybe sleep during the day. I know me personally, I was in convoy security over the nighttime because that was supposed to be the safe time for us. I was very close to divorce. My wife had it all. Fast forward from 2008 to 2012. My anger had raged. I felt like there was no hope because all the psychiatrists would do is say, here's another pill, and then you would have side effects. So they'd say, here's another pill to go with that side effect, and here's another one to go with that. So even though you only have one problem, here's 6 pills for it. And I was kind of done with it. So I relapsed, stopped taking any of the medicine, and my anger went out of control. Most generally, you can relate to any veteran that has had an issue like this. They do basically one of 3 things. They start getting angry and irritable all the time. And most of the veterans that have post-traumatic stress disorder, you can find the irritability, the depression stage, and the not caring stage, the I'm above all stage. The irritability, in my sense, was punching holes in walls, throwing remotes, just throwing objects, because when that irritability, when we're not being treated correctly, that irritability shows its face more. I don't have to worry about that anymore because of my battle buddy. Probably the scariest thing, not only for me, but for my family, is nighttime. Most veterans, including myself, close our eyes, we relive. Sometimes we stay asleep while we relive that dream, that so real experience. And sometimes people get in our way that we think we're protecting. We're throwing them down. We're getting up and yelling in Arabic. We are locking, almost 99% of the veterans I know will wake up at least twice, maybe 3 times a day, an evening, and they will go check the doors, make sure the doors are locked. Check the windows, make sure the windows are locked. What kind of world is that for you to live in, to be that stressed out because someone is going to get in because you feel that you are that vulnerable? But that's what not having hope is. And that's what a lot of these guys face. They don't have all the tools. They only have a part of them. Or they're back in the mentality, we do have Vietnam veterans in our program. They were in the mentality when we met them that suck it up, buttercup, and drive on, because that's how they were treated. And it's one of those things that it's so real on so many levels, from World War II veterans all the way up to us present day veterans. It's so real as to all the things that were faced and being able to get through it. So fast forward into 2013. The end of 2012, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, along with hypertension. The hypertension came in with my post-traumatic stress disorder because of the anxiety, your blood pressure, and all. So this guy is able to alert me whenever my blood sugars go high or when they go low. He is able to alert me to let me know something is not right. I need to check it to see what's going on. He also protects my family in the sense that when I'm asleep, he will wake me before my nightmare starts. He will allow me to get the rest that I need. And it's all because he can smell it. We are so in tune that he can smell the chemistry in my body. He can smell the sugar levels, the sweetness, and he can just basically be me. He's an extension of me. So he helps me with, my diabetes. He helps me with waking me from nightmares. He reminds me to take my medication. He will bug me until I take my medication. He will ground me like he is now. Even though it seems like all he's doing is just laying there, he is focusing solely on what's going on in my body. If I were to be anxious right now, to where my fight or flight mode would kick in, he would be up in a heartbeat, letting me know that it's okay. He'll be putting his big head on me, making me pet him to bring me back into reality. So this program, it saved my life tenfold over my family. I have a beautiful son, or a handsome son now, because of this program. I don't think that I would have the son that I have if I didn't go through the program, because I wouldn't have had a marriage. So it is saving lives. It's saving Vietnam vets' lives all the same as well.
Touch it, I promise.
And we do, and it's not just, there's a big misunderstanding that it's only physical or it's only mental disabilities that we handle. Because a lot of what I have is things that are non-visible. But, get up. Brace. If I'm down, he helps me up. We'll call them to brace us. We have guys that have seizures. They will alert to their seizures. They will go get help We have it to where they will jump up and turn on lights for their nightmares to basically get them back focused to where they need to be. But with that being said, going more into the non-visible wounds, the post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, we are more than just a service dog program. We are a phone call away, 24/7. Great example, I had a Vietnam vet call me 5 minutes after he got some of the worst news that he could have ever imagined. He called me before he called any of his family members because he knew he could count on me. He knew I would be at his front door as quick as I could. I've been in places to where guys have went off the radar, as we call it. They won't answer. They've said something to someone that made them think that maybe they're suicidal. And instead of calling the cops, we jump into our vehicles, we drive right into where their house is, and we bang on the door until pistols pointed at us. And then we talk them down, and those veterans are still walking and breathing because of that risk that we took. But I only do it because God lets me. God's a big part of what we do. We feel like our program wouldn't be what it is if we didn't have God. So he led me to that door on multiple occasions. He's led me to the ER when our guys are suicidal and need more help than what we can provide them. He's led me to the hospital when we've had an amputee. And it goes on, and it's just a big family. We think of calling each other before we think of calling our brother or sister that are biological. Because the camaraderie that you can get in the military, you can't find anywhere else unless you have an organization like this that provides it. So that's basically where we've came from, kind of where we got, where we're going.
That's it. Questions? Oh. Questions?
Does anyone have any questions at all that maybe we can address?
Two things. First is a comment. There was an excellent article. I don't know if you receive it. Well, my husband does because he was in Vietnam era, Navy vet. But anyway, the VFW magazine, the service dogs. Did you see?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Then, now I know it's not the same. Okay, so you have that baby, and then when you were overseas, you were deployed. Did you have any contact with the military dogs there, the bomb sniffing dogs and all that? Or,
I did not.
or IED sniffing? Did you have any
I
contact?
did not either, and I think that's why this helps me a lot when it comes to at night and my nightmares. Because if I wake up and I'm grabbing fur and I'm getting licked all over the face, it's not something that happened to me in combat, and so it grounds me a lot faster than it does if someone's trying to shake me awake or trying to talk to me and trying to get me awake that way.
The thing he's not telling you is the funny way of how we taught his dog the task to wake him up.
My wife had a lot of fun with this.
His wife for sure had a lot of fun. Because, like most of us vets, kind of violent when we wake up. And best to just kind of leave him alone. Well, she decided that she was going to sleep with a jar of peanut butter next to her bed until it happened. So he went into a nightmare. She stuck her hand in her big old chunk of peanut butter, slapped it across his face. And dogs love peanut butter. They can't get enough of it.
So I woke up several times with
so then there's the way that we train that dog, and she doesn't forget it. And now that motion, the energy that he has, triggers her to go back up to where her happy place was.
And most of the time, she doesn't even wake me fully awake. She just pulls me out enough to where I can't even remember the dream. And the only way that I know that she's waking me up because she goes into a rest position. Basically, I spoon her for the rest of the night with my arm over top of her, and that's how I know now. And you know, being afraid to be awake and being afraid to go to sleep, that's a really troublesome area you get into where you're constantly on guard. And now it's not that bad. I mean, I know when I go to bed, she's jumping right up there, and I don't have to worry about it. If I have one, I have one, but she's going to wake me up from it. So
yeah.
Are there certain breeds that are better than others, or does it
Well,
matter? Or?
I will tell you that we go in phases. About 6 months ago, I would be able to tell you that 90% of our dogs are pit bull mixes. Like this one, he's a pit bull mastiff. They are very loyal. They do get a bad rap. They are not bad dogs. It's all how you teach them and train them. I tell you what, I take my vest off of him, and he just becomes a play dog with my kids. I got he just turned 3, and I have a 6-year-old. And best friends. They'll jump on his back. They'll, go play with him. The only bad thing is when they play fetch, they have to get a 4x4 log to throw for him. But
I think that's a good point too. These dogs, when they're working for us, they're working for us. When we take that vest off, they're a family dog. And that's an amazing thing to see, that these dogs will go play with my kids, and if I start to get worked up and I'm in the living room and I start to get anxious, next thing you know, here comes Phoebe poking her head around the corner, going, "What's up in here? What's going on?" So even though they're at play, they still at work, but they become that family dog. And I believe the wife and kids, in my instance, they become closer to that dog because they've seen that Phoebe brought Daddy back. Phoebe brought my husband back, so they in turn become really close to that dog.
And if you noticed his actions just now, when the whole audience, the whole group starts chuckling and getting louder, you noticed he got up, he moved right over to me to make sure that I was okay. He leaned right up against my leg. Now he is securing my front again. That's what we call our front block, because he knows that that's where all the loud was coming from. So he's going to make sure that I'm protected from anything coming from that direction. But back to your question about any breed. Now we have a whole bunch of blonde dogs. Mm-hmm. We have golden labs. We have a lot of yellow labs. But we've done just about every breed.
From a teacup to Wawa.
Yeah. You guys laugh, and I laughed at first too. This guy came to me. He was 6'3", probably 270 pounds. He brings in this little thing, and I kind of laugh, and I'm like, "Wow, where's your dog at?" But let it be known that is his only sidekick that has stayed by his side. You don't have to be large to be able to help with your anxiety, to be able to remind you to take medication, to be able to wake you from a nightmare. You don't have to be large. A lot of people think the dog has to be large. Yes, most normally, if you're using them for bracing or anything like that, any kind of mobility, of course, you need a large dog. But I'm not going to take a dog away from a guy that has a bond already that we could train to wake him from nightmares. We're not the judge on that. So yeah, he is no longer the largest dog. He was the largest dog, weighing in at 96 pounds. We have a yellow lab that is 110 pounds. So we have from a 7-pound Chihuahua all the way up to a 110-pound lab that we use.
Are you sure that's 7 pounds?
Maybe. Okay, since we really got the numbers straight and started working on it whenever I started in 2013, we've had roughly right between 50 and 60 veterans go through. This year, we have, right now at the present time, we have 15 roughly going through. They all go through at the same time so they can get that camaraderie. And we have 10 that are going to be starting in 2 weeks. And it's just, the word's getting out. Unfortunately, we're not larger than we are because we get people calling us from Indianapolis and Louisville, and I had a call from California and Ohio and Florida. "Hey, can you duplicate your system and move it down here?" We're a very small organization. We don't even have a building yet. We work out of the AMVETS on Barker and Broadway. Our goal in the next year, we wanted it by the end of this year, but it's not going to happen. Our goal was to get a 10,000 square foot building because we want a safe place for these guys. 5,000 square foot to be able to train our dogs, 5,000 square foot to turn into a rec center, have pool tables and TVs and anything, workout equipment, anything that would relieve the stress of the veteran. So they're having a rough time. They call us. We say, "Okay, meet us at the house." be our SDI home. Go meet us there. We'll talk about it. We'll work out. We'll do all that. So unfortunately, I've had to turn down quite a few offers of moving our organization just because we haven't got it down to a science yet. We're still learning. It's still the learning process. We're almost 2 years into it. I mean, it's still a growing process.
Is this just a local organization?
Our organization is. We are the only one focusing on veterans solely, and we are the only one within, I think the closest one's Marion, Illinois, that does something like ours. A lot of the organizations train the dogs and then have the veteran come to a camp of theirs, charge them $15,000 to $20,000, and then they send them with an already trained dog after 2 weeks. We've gotten the defined system to where we teach the veteran how to train the dog. That's why they come every Tuesday night. We give them homework. We teach them how to train the dog. And then at the end of that, they have a certified service dog just as well as what they would if they would have gotten it off a ranch, and they have it zero cost to them.
And where does your funding come from?
All private donors. We in April, we have one large event. We sell merchandise. On our website, we have a array of T-shirts that we sell, but it's all private funding at this point. We're working on trying to get some grants. We are 501c3, so everything's a tax write-off. But we have faith in God that He's going to take care of us, and we worry about the next vet up.
So you don't get any assistance from the VA?
No, ma'am.
We are not a part of the VA.
We are completely.
Do what you do.
Yeah. We don't have any kind of restrictions with where the funding goes. If we get affiliated with the government, we may have to step into the red tape of where when a guy needs a gas card, because we even go and provide those for him. When a guy needs a gas card, we have the question, why are you providing this gas card? That's not part of our system. It is part of our system. Our system is to take the financial burden off of the veteran so they can get back up on their feet and be an active part of society.
So you do take donations?
Absolutely. We welcome them 100%.
Does most of your guys then have jobs?
I personally do not. I did. I do not, because the field that I was in doesn't allow me to take my dog, and I struggled a little. I was actually in surgery at St. Mary's.
Oh yeah. No,
So
I wouldn't.
you don't want to contaminate the area with a dog, but we are helping. There are guys that show interest, and these guys that used to have nothing are building up. There's one guy that we have that is actually a foreman at Skanska, Sabic, the big construction company out of Mount Vernon. And we were actually just published in their newsletter. But they do. There's a few that have them. There's a few that need them, and then there's a few of us that dedicate our time to helping the next vet. And we basically call this our full-time job. And let me make something clear though. The one thing that I didn't hit on that wasn't in there, we get paid absolutely nothing. I'm the president of the organization. I will never take a penny. Neither will anyone on my board. We do it all absolutely voluntarily, and there are no paid salaries. I just want to make sure that's clear.
Do you have any local veterinarians that donate services?
We don't have any that donate. We have at least one that we're working with right now that gives us a discounted rate. Basically treats us like the rescue dogs because they get special pricing as the rescue animals as well. But no, we don't have anyone that donates services as of yet.
And I noticed you said local earlier. I'm from Owensboro. That's where I'm from Utica, so on the other side of Owensboro. And we had people coming from Madison, right outside Madisonville, all the way up to, so about an hour's drive in a circle around is where we got people coming from.
Yeah, we reached Indiana, Kentucky, and Illinois so far. We've had some people say that they were going to attempt from Tennessee, but then realized that was a little stretch. You had a question?
If you don't have a full-time job and you don't get paid doing this, how do you live?
Well, me, personally, I have a wife that is a elementary education teacher, and our VA system compensates me a small portion to help me just make ends meet, basically. But it's just the fruit that I can serve to other veterans is enough pay for me.
And with my wife stays at home with our kids, but I am 100% disabled through the VA. So I get that. And I think I'm on the same way with him. This program has given me so much. How could I take from another veteran's hand? You know, if I say that I need something, then that means the next guy up, he might have to wait a little bit longer to get that dog. And if I would have had to wait a little longer, I wouldn't be standing in front of you today.
And he's leaving out one part. I don't know if he did it on purpose or not, but he's 100% disabled. He's not telling you that he has a defibrillator in his chest, and his dog alerts him to the defibrillator when it's about to shock. That's one part that he left out. That's crucial to know about this guy. He's endured a lot, and still willing to come out and give and give and give, because that's what we do. We spend more time together probably than we do with our wives, because we want to make sure that these veterans are taken care of to the fullest, and we know we have that capability.
And when I first got into this, I wasn't working, and I decided this was going to be my way back in. Once I was going to start working again, and I did start working again. However, me working again took away from my family.
And that's why he got the dog, got the service dog, is to be able to give more to his family.
And so I was up and a productive citizen again, but I was getting taken away from my family. So being able to be able to quit was a blessing that it was bestowed on me by the Lord, and being able to do this is just giving back, and every minute of it I'm happy and glad.
Do you do the training of the veterans and the dogs, and if so, how did you know how to do this?
Well, okay, the organization was founded in 2012 by Canine University, Tri-State Canine University. Bobby Jo Bottomley founded the organization. She was a trainer, had been a trainer for over 20 years. When you go through the program, you are taught how to train. That is part of our system, is we are teaching trainers. So through that, plus studying and basically hands-on, I had about a year of hands-on before I started really getting back into training. We also have my secretary. She is accredited through the AKC, and she has all the training tools as well. And we're actually trying to make it a little bit better. And I may be going to Animal Behavior College here before too long, just so I can get that accreditation as well. Because every dog is different, every veteran is different, and you have to treat them all differently.
Where do they have Animal Behavior College? Where is that?
Well, it's an actual college.
It's an actual college. There is an actual brick and mortar college in California, or you can take most of your courses online, and then they have accredited trainers here locally that I can go do internships with to get the real life experiences.
Oh, you get to do it.
I'm hoping so too. I'm hoping the military is going to take care of me on that one.
Do you have civilian volunteers?
Right now, because of how sensitive the process is, because they share so much with us, because they look forward to, if anything happened that week, they look forward to spilling their guts when they get to us. We don't have any volunteer options necessarily as part of our classes, but we did just come out with something that we're trying to get together, which is a fundraising committee. You can go online and fill out an application just saying you want to, it's basically your name and number, saying you want to be part of it. Like I said, we're very simple, very small. And when we have events, like we'll have our big event in April, we'll definitely be looking for volunteers. I'm sure around Veterans Day we'll have plenty of people come to us and want us to do stuff there, selling our merchandise, things like that. That's usually the realm that we have for the civilian side of volunteer, is being at one of our tables and selling gear.
And he just made me think of something also. I am currently going through the process to become certified VSO, which is a veteran service officer, which also helps these guys get the benefits they deserve. So when he says that we're not just a dog training organization, we really mean that. I've sat with hours and hours with people going through over their claim, and knowing the process. And it took me 10 years to get mine through and get to the right people listening to me. So I kind of know how to navigate that system, and so I use that to help the next guy in the program.
You had a question?
What is your completion rate? Do the majority of veterans?
Unfortunately, I would have to say that we have about a 20% dropout rate. And that's because they aren't ready for that step. They thought they were. They get into it. They start feeling the hope. And they start climbing back in because it's unfamiliar to them. It's starting to feel too good for them. So unfortunately, I'd say probably about 20% of the 10 that, prime example, we just had 4 of our phase 1. We have 4 phases. We had 6 start the class in phase 1, and we had 2 that didn't necessarily quit it. They're just dropping back because they've missed so much of their class. They're dropping back and recycling and restarting it. But yeah, it's probably close to 20%, and that's just like when how many veterans regularly go to their psychiatrist. You'll have probably even a bigger number that say they don't do that.
Well, I think a lot of it, phase 3 is scary. Phase 3 is where that vest comes on, and phase 3 means you're going back out in the public again.
I mean, it's the real deal.
And so it starts to get real, and it's all okay and cake and cookies up until then, because you don't have to really go out and prove it anywhere. You can train in the comfort of your home, your yard, and come to this little building with a bunch of other vets and show your stuff. But then phase 3, you put that vest on, and guess what? We're going to take field trips now. We're expecting you to go out because
we're going to Walmart.
Yeah, we're going to Walmart.
So they just have to work into that phase.
Yes, yes. And we start small. We don't just immediately say, okay, you got your vest, let's go to Walmart. I think we went to the dollar store, PetSmart, where dogs are allowed. It's something different. You've been told all your life, don't bring this dog in here. You're not allowed to bring dogs in here. You can't bring dogs in here. And then suddenly you bring a pit bull or a boxer in, and all eyes turn to you. So instead of trying to be this avoidance and not seeing, you now have all the eyes on you. So it is difficult in that part. However, that's when you reach down, and my dog will tilt her head, and I'll grab her ear, and I'll hold her ear like I'm holding her hand almost, because that comfort, I can almost whittle it, and I can comfort like that, and then I'm okay, and she knows I'm okay, and we'll go on. So it is a big step for these guys, and some of them need to take a little time. Some of them need to go back and maybe get a little bit more therapy and then come back at us and when they're ready.
Any other questions?
So I know some of these organizations will pay for fostering, pay for all the vet bills, pay for neutering, spades, and everything. And then once it's time to adopt that dog in foster care, or it is time to take him around, like on Saturday, they'll have the dog and we're trying to get adopted. Those organizations have all of that paid for. Like if I foster that dog, I wouldn't have to pay a dime out of my pocket.
Right.
How do they do that versus what you guys have to take donations?
Well, what they do is they raise the money. They do grants and things too. But where they get their compensation is on the backside when that dog gets adopted out. Because every dog comes with an adoption fee, depending on if a dog comes into the shelter and has already been spayed or neutered, their adoption fee is only going to be, probably $75, because all they're going to have to do is get them up to date on shots. If one comes in not spayed or neutered, they have to pay for that, so it's going to be $125 or so. So they get the discounts like we do at the vet clinics, and then they compensate from the adoption fee that's being paid when the animal actually gets adopted out.
So I know some of those organizations have people sit there, like an animal control, spot which dogs are good service. Do you have an in on that as well?
My secretary is actually part of Animal Control's board. She is actually the one that helps make the decisions of the dogs that are too far gone, that maybe have been too vicious in public, things like. She's actually part of that process. She is probably there more than I'd say. There's probably maybe one person that's in that building more than she is. She'll take them for their last walk before they get euthanized. She's in it. I mean, we're the vet people. She's the dog people. And that we truly believe it. But yeah, so we definitely have an in there. She sees one, she tags it up as soon as it comes in that, hey, this is going to be a good one for a service dog. Any other questions?
I just have a comment. I just want to thank you both for everything you've done in your service and working 24/7 days a week with these animals and with these vets and all the amazing things that you have accomplished. That has got to be one of the most difficult